Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well today. We're going to be talking about this change that was just announced this morning. So apparently the Oscars are going to be changing this year, and many people are saying not quite for the better. There's one thing that I'm very excited about, that I'm very happy about, and then there's another one, kind of the biggest news coming out of this that just has me really frustrated. So first off, as you can see, Oscars to speed up add popular movie category won't air all awards live. So one, I just want to say the one good thing that came out of this is the fact that they are shortening the show. It's only going to be a huge 3-hour show as compared to the 4+ hour shows that they have been doing recently, and I think that overall is a good thing. I think that lessening the time is very good, but also at the same time, what frustrates me is that instead of, tweaking certain things, taking unnecessary parts out, now they're going to be going after certain categories. So there are categories that used to be aired before that are now only going to exist during the commercial breaks. And to me, I understand why they're doing that, but part of me thinks, why didn't they just look and see, wait a minute, what is bloated about our shows? What do people not like to watch? What do people don't like to listen to? And let's take care of that. Let's actually, fix those things instead of, oh, we're just going to give a bunch of categories to be announced, as it said. We're just going to give them the shaft instead. Because at the end of the day, I feel like you could easily cut into speeches, you could easily cut into the damn skits that the host does. Those are things that you could cut down on, and you could probably cut the show down by a good half hour, maybe even an hour, when all said and done. Now, I understand there are certain categories that maybe shouldn't be on the main show, or certain categories that they might want to do over the commercial break. I can understand why they would want to do that. Apparently, the plan is also that they're going to edit all of them together and have quick edited versions of those speeches and of those events and show them later on in the show. So again, I think 3 hours is still quite long for an award show, but it also is ignoring the biggest problem with the Oscars, which I'll get into at the very end of this article. So let's actually talk about it, and I'm going to go into my thoughts about the big news about the new added category, which is getting a lot of buzz right now. So the Academy boards of directors approved several changes to the annual Oscar show last night during their meeting Tuesday night, in which they re-elected John Bailey to his second term as president. Most important to the world at large, they are making moves to shorten the broadcast and stop live airing below-the-line categories that bog down the Oscar cast and has led to slumping ratings, except in years when big films are up over the top awards, which isn't often enough. So here's the big thing already, is that they think that is the problem. They think that's the reason why people aren't watching the show, when they're just losing the fact that, no, the reason why is because the movies that are getting nominated for the bigger awards aren't big-budget films, aren't films that people are aware of, aren't films that people are familiar with. Instead, they choose the most obscure films possible, and in many cases, they award them the biggest awards by giving them Best Picture. And I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that a lot of people went to go see Moonlight and said, this is a movie that I'm going to see several times in the future. No, not even La La Land is a movie that people would say, oh yeah, because that's the most recent one I have in my memory. And so when you look at those two Oscars, when you look at those two movies especially, no one's going to say, oh yeah, I want to go see those films. So the problem is not in necessarily these lower categories. I actually really like to see the animated shorts, the editing, the foreign language done, because I feel like those are big parts of the movie overall. Now, are they going to get rid of because here's the other thing too. One of the most, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent because I used to really love the Oscars. I used to watch them all the time, and then of course they just became way too political, and I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get my soapbox towards the very end to talk about what the real problem is. But the biggest thing to me is that if there's one category that in my mind should not exist at all, they should actually get rid of it, or even, move it to the before show like they tend to do, and, if they're going to do these move to this commercials, move it there, is Best Original Song. I'm sorry, but most original songs that are nominated aren't even played in the damn movie. So basically it comes to the point where someone can write a song for a movie that just plays in the credits, and yet somehow that gets nominated for an Oscar, which is supposed to be about films in general, about filmmaking. I don't understand how a song that plays in the trailer, or rather plays in the credits for a film, is adding to the film at all. Now, of course, are there certain songs that are a part of the actual movie that do add something to it? Absolutely. But unfortunately, I feel like so many of those songs don't actually get the recognition that they might actually deserve. And that's the same reason why we've got terrible films that have been nominated for an Oscar, because of that Best Original Song category. So if they're going to get rid of anything, or if they're going to move anything to it, they should move it there. But they're not going to do that. Why? Because when these big pop stars, when these big, huge artists make these songs that play in the credits, they get to play them and perform them at the Oscars, which brings more eyeballs to it, even though it makes absolutely no sense to have the category in the first place based on everything they've been doing with it. So Oh man, so again, they just don't understand. They do not know and understand and accept what is actually going on and why people are not tuning in to their show. All right. In a memo to members from Bailey and Academy CEO Don Hudson, the changes outlined included creating a new category for outstanding achievement in popular film, whatever the hell that means. In addition, the board voted to limit the length of its annual awards show to 3 hours. So obviously that is something, that those are the two big things. It's shortening it to 3 hours, and by doing that, affecting these other categories, but also the addition of a new category. So let's actually see what the letter says. So this is the actual letter that was sent out by the board. It was voted on, and so this seems to be the most interesting part of the entire thing. So it says, "Dear member, last night the Board of Governors met to elect new board members and discuss the improved significant changes to the Oscars telecast. The Board of Governors, staff, Academy members, and various working groups spent the last several months discussing the improvements to the show. Tonight the board approved 3 key changes. A 3-hour telecast." Again, I think that is the best thing that comes out of this, because I think that a shorter show is indeed a good thing. Having a 4+ hour show that sometimes doesn't always end on time is problematic. However, the cuts that they're making just don't really make a lot of sense. As it says, "We are committed to producing an entertaining show in 3 hours, delivering a more accessible Oscars for all viewers worldwide. To honor all 24 categories," which already to me is kind of silly to begin with because of what they're about to say, "we will present select categories live in the Dolby Theater during commercial breaks, categories to be determined. The winning moments will then be aired later in the broadcast." Now, what they could do, and maybe they'll go this route, but what they could do is something that the WWE has been doing for several years now, which is that maybe what they could do is they could have their own separate stream, or during commercial breaks, they continue to stream those events live. So that way people can have a more interactive experience. That way, when there goes to commercial, people can, pull out their phones and say, "Oh, I can watch, this award. I care about this award, so I can actually watch it live. I don't have to wait until it's edited together some way, cobbled together of some sort." So that's something that they could really do in the future. But also, as it says there, to honor all 24 categories, again, they will be presented live, and the categories will be determined later. So that is the big thing, because which categories are going to be affected? I can tell you right now, original song, which to me is the one that deserves to be there the least, is not going to be affected, because that is, in their mind, what brings eyeballs to the screen, even though, as they've seen, as they continue to promote newer films with big artists, guess what? That's not enough to bring people back, and there's a big reason why that's the case. New award category, here it is. "We will create a new category for outstanding achievement in popular film. Eligibility requirements and other key details will be forthcoming." So I'm going to be very interested. I can't wait to dive into those details to find out what does one have to do to be considered for this film. Something tells me that what they're going to end up doing is they're going to say a film to be nominated in this category has to have made this much money. There's probably going to be a certain threshold that they decide to set to have that film. And guess what? You're going to have the case where you're going to have popular films that may not hit that threshold and therefore might not actually be nominated, and then there's going to be even more chaos on top of it. But the biggest problem with this is that what this does essentially is it takes off any obligation that the Oscars have, that the board has, the people who nominate for Best Picture, to even look at or consider comic book films, big budget films, because now, oh wait, they have their own separate category now. All the big budget films, all the films that make us money, oh yeah, they have their own category, so now we don't even have to think about that. And so to me, this all started really with The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight was that film that really should have been nominated, probably should have won Best Picture that year at the Oscars back in 2008, and ended up not actually going through with that plan. And so that's the reason why, again, that film alone, that moment alone, made the Academy say, oh, well, let's expand it to 10 movies. And then eventually they came up with a convoluted system to say, oh, it could be between 5 and 10 movies. And now we have this happening, and there is one film that to me is the reason why this is happening, and it's Black Panther. Because this is, again, the Academy saying, we're too lazy, we don't want to consider comic book films, big action films, regardless of what they might do for us politically. So therefore, we're going to create our own separate category. And to me, in my mind, even though obviously out of the films that are probably going to get nominated, Avengers: Infinity War would, to me, be the lead movie there. And I guess that's why it's kind of exciting, because it is a new category, and who's going to predict it? And obviously, there's no Guild Awards for this because it's popular movie. What the hell could that? What the hell? Because they mean so it could be an easily unpredictable category. But to me, this is them saying, we want to give an Oscar to Black Panther, but we're not quite ready to bring Black Panther into the discussion for Best Picture. And I'm kind of mixed on that, because one, I don't think it is worthy of being Best Picture, but also I don't think that film deserves an Oscar. Because the reason why a lot of people are pushing this is because of political reasons, saying, oh, we have to give Black Panther something. Look what it's done. Look at what the things that it talks about and all. And no, it's a good movie. It's a fine film. But if you're going to tell me that Black Panther should be the first superhero film to win best popular film, or to win an Oscar, to be the first superhero film to win an Oscar, you've got another thing coming, because it is nowhere near as good as other films. And some things that some people have been saying is like, I'm sorry, but if you were going to do this, why didn't you do this, beforehand? If this is something that you actually cared about. The reason why they're doing this is because they know that they're losing people. They're losing eyes every single year. And you want to know why? Because you're too damn political. That is the reason why certain films don't work. Because the thing is, when people go to the movies, just like when people watch sports, when people watch the Oscars, which to me is like the Super Bowl of movies, we don't watch it to be preached to. We don't watch it to have a message shoved down our throats. We don't watch it to see Robert De Niro go up on stage and say, F Trump, look at me, I'm a liberal. You didn't know that already, but I'm going to go ahead and say these things. We don't watch it for those reasons. We watch it to be entertained. Simple as that. So you want to know why you've been losing so many people? Yeah, obviously having the obscure films that you've been choosing, but also for political reasons, being nominated for Best Picture and winning Best Picture, looking at you, Moonlight, but also, too, you have this nonsense political pandering that happens every year and has gotten worse and worse and will only continue to get worse as long as these knuckleheads in Hollywood continue to speak out the way that they are. I'm all for someone, trying to make a statement, trying to take a stand. But when you're just going on and on and on, just going on your own political tangents, we don't watch you for that. We don't watch movies for that. Again, unless I'm going to watch a documentary or a history film, I don't want to see that in a film, and I don't watch an award show for that either. I go to see the glitz and the glamour, to award films, to celebrate the history of film, to celebrate all these other things. I don't watch it to be preached to. So yeah, you're doing this is them saying, oh, well, we have to get people back somehow. Oh, let's make up a brand new category. Let's make up essentially the participation trophy of the Oscars. That's not ever going to be taken seriously by anyone. Not just actors, not just producers, but even the main public. You might be able to bring back a few eyes this year, especially if you nominate something like a Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, which are probably going to be the two top contenders for this category. But you're not going to be able to sustain that. Because when people are going to soon realize is, oh, wait a minute, they're doing this to try and bring us back, but if the politics stay the same, if the pandering stays the same, all of those eyes that you might bring back are going to say, oh, this is still the Oscars, this is still political nonsense, I don't want to have any of it. And the third one's talking about an earlier date for the 92nd Oscars, so they've moved up the date for the 2020 Oscars, which I, take it for what it is. But yeah, I mean, what do y'all guys think about this category? Do you think it's what I do? Do you think that this is just them trying to bring more eyeballs back, and it's just them trying to continue to, keep the same thing going, keep these obscure categories with these obscure films, just to completely now, again, as I said, they have no reason in the future, if this category stays, to consider any big budget film as a good film. I'm sorry, but I think most people who saw movies would say Avengers Infinity War, or other films like it, The Dark Knight, Logan, were significantly better than most films nominated. And this is just from an objective standpoint, from a quality standpoint, than most films that have been nominated in the Best Picture category over the last several years. So this to me, again, is one thing. It's a couple things. One, it's them being lazy. Now they have a reason and excuse never to consider a big budget film. That's for starters. And two, it's a way for them to try and bring people back because they know people aren't watching their crap anymore. But here's the thing. If the political messaging, if the actual core content of the show does not change, if you keep going the way you are, if you bring back up another Robert De Niro and say, F Trump, and just go on rants about Trump and about any other political nonsense that you want to bring up, you're not going to retain those viewers, and this will soon fall very, very quickly into obscurity. And just one more thing. So obviously a lot of people have come out just to mock this because it really is stupid. Again, this is really pretty much a participation trophy. Oh, you made a lot of money. Oh, now we can offer you Oscars. It's like, no, that's just not how this is supposed to work. And people can say, oh, well, it's always been a popularity contest, so what's the difference? The difference is that how do you gauge a popular film, and how is that any different than Best Picture? Like, to me, it's just them, oh, we don't want to include these films even though they should be included in the conversation, so we're going to give them their own category. But as I said, this year, the reason why they're implementing it this year is probably because they had a lot of people on the board saying, oh, well, we have to give Black Panther something, but I don't think it's going to get nominated because we still got all these other people that don't want to nominate, superheroes. Oh, you know what, let's make this a popular film category and let's see what happens. And also, the biggest question, too, is where are they going to put it on the card? Are they going to put this right before Best Picture? Are they going to then try to, to downplay Best Director? Are they going, exactly, like, what are they going to do with this? It just doesn't make any sense. But just going back here for a second, Dane Cook says the Oscars are adding a category for Best Popular Film. Good luck, Chuck is coming back in re-release. I just think that's great. Al Jean says, next, everyone gets an Oscar day. Pretty much. That's pretty much the direction they seem to be going. Again, this is pretty much, as I said, a participation trophy. So, Ian Bowen says, Dear Academy, creating a popular Oscar category delegitimizes the integrity of every other award. Please honor our business and not make the telecast-based decision to try and improve ratings. In other words, we have 90 years of Oscar managers, don't F it up. And I agree with this sentiment. I think that, you know, this does call into question a lot of things, because now they pretty much have exposed, by breaking this category, that it is all about bringing people to watch the show, and that matters more than who's being nominated and why they're being nominated in the first place. So again, it calls into question, even though it's been a popular vote, you know, for a very long time, you know, since its beginning essentially, but now it's starting to reveal that. It's kind of pulling back the curtain in a lot of ways, and it's going to make a lot of people interested. And then Rob Lowe, of course, has a great one. He says, the film business passed away today with the announcement of the popular film Oscar. It had been in poor health for a number of years. It has survived by sequels, tent poles, and vertical integration. I just think that's fantastic, especially it's survived by sequels, because Rob Lowe, I think, speaks to the fact that Hollywood has been dying for a very long time. You know, obviously the box office has been going down, or at least, you know, overall has been going down over the past decade or so, and I don't think this is really helping their case at all. And then let me just see. One more. Jake Tapper. I was saying Hollywood needs to be encouraged more officially to focus more on box office, less on quality. Exactly. Like, so basically this is another reason for Hollywood to focus less on trying to make a very good film, and instead let's make a huge big budget film like The Meg. Nothing against The Meg. I have my tickets to go see The Meg opening night, but I don't think The Meg should be winning an Oscar just because it made a lot of money at the box office. I think that's the point that's being trying to made, is that now what we have here is now studios are going to focus less on making very strong independent films, well-made independent films, and more on, oh, if we put a lot of money into a project that makes a lot of money, even though it might just its biggest claim to success might be, oh, it appeals to the less common denominator. Because keep this in mind too, if they make a certain poll, like if you reach this certain limit and then it's voted on, you then have the possible conversation of something like a 50 Shades of Grey being considered, at least considered, for a nomination at the Oscars. That's what they've just brought into this. 50 Shades of garbage tier nonsense. But anyway, guys, what's y'all's thoughts on this? Do you agree with me that this is just them trying to bring in more money, bring in more eyes? And also, do you think that they're going to remain the same political, like they're going to retain the same political nonsense that they have been doing since the very beginning? Please let me know. I'd greatly appreciate I'd greatly appreciate your conversation. Oh man, today's been a day. But thank y'all so much for watching. Y'all are amazing. I love every single one of you. You are fantastic. Have a great day. And as always, like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Have a great day, and God bless.